Hi, this is Matt Side with Alliance Short Sales, and today we're going to be talking about some of the major changes that are coming down the pipe in the short sale world here in spring of 2010. Make sure you stay till the end of the video because I'm going to build some foundation. It's not a very long video, but I'm going to build some foundation, and then I have a tip for you to help you negotiate through some of these transitions that are going to be happening. And the big transition month is April. The reason that is because on April 5th, 2010, all of the banks that are part of the Making Homes Affordable program are required to have their short sale part of that implemented in full swing. So right now the banks are feverishly working with the directive that the Treasury Department brought out at the end of November, and they're getting all their policies and procedures around that and then submitting them into Fannie Mae to review and approve those. And so shortly, banks are going to start bringing these out, but by April they have to have them all completely done. So the short sale part of the directive is what you've probably heard of as HAFA, H-A-F-A. It stands for Home Affordable Foreclosure Alternative. And I'm not going to go into all of it. There's a whole lot of different pieces there, and as different banks start to create policies, there's going to be more information that I'm going to be bringing out to you to help you get through all of that. But I want to talk about one specific piece that's going to be a hurdle for agents to get over, and a learning curve if you don't know what to look for going into it. There's a lot of good things about HAFA. There's supposedly going to be a lot shorter time frames. There's also a required full release of liability from the borrower when the short sale is approved. So lots of good things that are going to happen. But there's one area where agents are going to potentially waste a lot of time and waste a lot of marketing dollars if they're not aware of some of the requirements that HAFA has. And so what I've done, actually, I printed out page 3 of the HAFA directive, and this is paragraph 2 under HAFA consideration. And I'll just read it to you real quick. Servicers must evaluate a borrower for HAMP. HAMP stands for Home Affordable Modification Program. So servicers must evaluate a borrower for a HAMP modification prior to any consideration being given to HAFA options in accordance with the provisions of Supplemental Directive 0901 and any supplemental HAMP guidance. Borrowers that meet the eligibility criteria for HAMP but who are not offered a trial period plan, do not successfully complete a trial period plan, or default on a HAMP modification should first be considered for other loan modification or retention programs offered by the servicer prior to being evaluated for HAFA. So what does that mean? What that means in simple layman terms is if you submit a short sale to the bank has to evaluate that client for a modification prior to looking at any short sale. And that is potentially the bump in the road that if agents aren't aware of this, they'll run into some issues. So let's just do a quick case study. If you have a property listed at 123 Main Street and you realize that this is going to be a short sale, and you market your property as a short sale and you spend marketing dollars and you finally secure a buyer and you get all the paperwork together to submit in for the short sale and you send that offer in to the bank to review it. It takes them 2 or 3 weeks to assign that to a negotiator. The negotiator opens up the file when it finally comes onto his or her desk, looks it over real quick and says, oh, well, this hasn't even been reviewed for modification yet. Closed. Moves it over to loan modification. It's no longer even in the short sale department. Then it's going to have to be reviewed for modification, and then if the borrower qualifies, they actually have to be offered those modification terms, and they may or may not accept them. So the problem is, first of all, you're going to lose that buyer because the likelihood of the buyer staying on for additional period of time while they review it for a modification is very low. I mean, you know how many buyers we lose just in general with short sales being so slow. So that's a high risk if you spend all that time and money trying to find a buyer and getting a buyer, and then now that buyer disappears. That's not any good. And in addition, if the borrower looks at the terms of the modification and says, well, geez, I might as well take this. This is great. Can't beat this anywhere out there. Then you're not going to have a listing at all, and you'll have spent all that time and money and you won't have anything. So here's my tip. don't list your short sale without first taking the time to contact the bank and investigate whether or not it's a HAMP eligible loan. And if it is, if the borrower has actually been evaluated for the modification process. Now this is very important to us at Alliance Short Sales, because as the negotiation company that our agents work with to do all of their short sale negotiations, they rely on us to do all of the contact and communication with the bank and advise them and their seller as to the best ways to not just market the property and get a short sale approved, but in this situation, what is the best next step? Depending on the situation of the seller, it may or may not be beneficial for them to actually do the modification. So let me let you into some of our changes in policies. But before I do that, one thing I want to mention is today we were on one of our conference calls. We have monthly conference calls, and one of our network agents out of San Diego, we were talking about this same subject. And she said one of her best practices is that when she gets a short sale listing, she always makes sure that they look at loan modification. And if they haven't looked at that as an option, she pushes them that direction. And the reason she does that is because the reality is that most loan modifications are never approved, and so they end up coming back to her to do a short sale. The good thing is that she never has a borrower change their mind midstream and decide they want to go with a loan modification instead of the short sale after she spent a bunch of time and energy. So just a best practice that one of our agents uses that may be helpful for you. So also just to, well, I'll get to that in a second. Alliance policy internal, what are we doing different? And this is going to evolve, because as the banks change how they work with HOFA, so we are going to have to change what we do policy-wise. But as it sits right now, what we are doing is when we get our authorizations on file with the bank, the very first thing that we're going to do is call and determine whether or not this is a HOFA eligible loan, and then determine if it's going to be required for the borrower to go through the modification process or evaluation for modification before we're able to do any short sale listing. That way we can advise the listing agent and the seller as to what the next step is. The next step very well may be that it shouldn't be listed on in multiple listing service, but that the seller should actually go through modification. I will guarantee that there's going to be a ton of frustration out there from buyer's agents when they find that all these short sales that they're submitting offers in on are not getting approved because the list agent didn't realize that they needed to go through a modification first. So let's avoid all of that bad blood out there and be really proactive in that regard. So once we do that, then we determine what the next step is. And the reason that it's so important for us at Alliance to take this step is not only because our agents are relying on us, but because we structure our fee in such a way that not only does it never come from the agent or the seller, it comes out of the bank's proceeds. We don't ever steal agent commission, but we don't get paid until the closing. So if a transaction falls out because somebody decides to go loan modification, we spend a bunch of time and energy just like you as a real estate agent, and we don't get paid. So we're just as vested in these transactions as you are, and that's why we're making changes to our policy. As a quick side note, if a bank is part of the Making Homes Affordable program, they have to participate in HOFA. It's not one or the other. HOFA is a supplemental directive of the Making Homes Affordable original directive that came out in April of 2009. So be aware of that. I'll give you a website that you can go to and take a look at all of the lenders that are currently part of the Making Homes Affordable, so that you can kind of have a heads up when you're working with the seller if their bank is on that list and if the likelihood is that they're going to have to do a modification first. Just a quick idea, if it may be helpful for your sellers in certain situations that they take advantage of a modification so that they can continue making payments while they're looking for a buyer for their short sale, keep their late payments from happening over and over and over again, so that they potentially don't have as large a hit on their credit. So that's basically all that I have. For those of you that are interested in Alliance Short Sales, real quick, we are a short sale negotiation company. Many of you know who we are, but if you don't, go over to our website and check us out. We have training products that we have available for agents that do work with us, or agents that either work with somebody else or do it on their own. At the time of this recording, we have those highly discounted right now, just coming into the new year of 2010. And we'd love to work with you, so check us out, see if how we've structured our negotiation services works for you and your business. Thanks, and good luck, and may you close a lot of short sales here in 2010.